Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Blair with Tech Writer EDC, and today we're talking pocket knives, and specifically, I always wanted to do this video, which was actually a couple of these, which is buy this and not that. And today I'm talking about the Spyderco Tenacious versus the Byrd Raven 2, which is the value line of Spyderco. Not sure of the whole story, but Spyderco has a whole Byrd line of knives that basically take all their knives and make it into less expensive versions. And I'm sure, like me, like you guys, we've all come into collecting pocket knives probably the same way. I've been into pocket knives since I was a kid, but at some point your collecting becomes more serious and you start going down that rabbit hole, factor in message boards and Facebook groups and Reddits, and all of a sudden, you know, you're just overwhelmed with all these options. And how many times have you been on the boards, or if someone asks you what knife to buy and everyone's like, get a Tenacious, get a Tenacious. And I can understand why. It's a great knife for what it is. It's getting a little long in the tooth, a little outdated. You know, it's been around for some time, and there's better options out there. But I'm sticking to two things today. Also, how many of us have been walking down the aisle of Bass Pro Shops or Walmart and saw a Tenacious hanging there for $50 and snagged it? I mean, you know, that certainly can't happen just to me. I know it's happened to you guys too. But rounding this out, let's go back to the title of the video, and that is, don't buy a Tenacious. I'm telling you to buy a Byrd Raven 2. So knives are very subjective. You know, all these knives are great, right? I mean, and of course, the knife you have on you is the best knife there is at that given moment. But if you had a choice, and you can be picky and choosy, and you're sitting around talking about a budget and how much you should spend on something, you know, Tenacious right now, sitting here Saturday morning, it's like $52 on Amazon for the regular version. So here's the original. It's the Spyderco Tenacious, 8 CRV 13 MOV steel, or however that combination goes. So cheap steel, but again, I don't mind it. It sharpens up super quick. And this is in that class of like almost a disposable knife. You know, if you're a super hard use guy for cheap knives, you're not buying these. You're buying the Crescent knives and Coast knives on the shelf of Home Depot, because you're tearing those blades up and throwing them out. But if you're trying to go to a step up from something like a disposable knife, a lot of people are always recommending the Tenacious. And the Tenacious line has a couple other knives in it, Persistence and things like that. But for $52, why not spend a couple bucks more and upgrade to the Byrd Raven 2? And let me tell you, I absolutely love this knife. So right now on Amazon, these are $62. So for $10 more, you get a world of difference in pocket knives. Again, not knocking the Tenacious. I've got the Tenacious lightweight as well. Why I picked this up, I'm not even sure. I never even use it. You can see I've cut like a box with it. That's it. Cool knife. One, I don't like liner lock knives, so that's the first problem with all of these. Even the Byrd, even though I love the Byrd, not a big fan of liner lock knives. But the Tenacious and the Byrd are very, very similar. Steel liners, G10 scales, the same old Spyderco pocket clip. You know, you can reverse it in every little direction that you want. It's, you know, 4-way carry, up, down, all that cool stuff. The Byrd has the little elongated Spidey hole. It looks like an eye of a hawk or a teardrop. And, you know, the Tenacious has a regular round Spidey hole. But the difference really here comes in to ergonomics and blade steel. The Raven 2's got CTS BD1 steel, which is a definite upgrade over what the Tenacious have. And actually, it's one of my favorite steels out there on all knives. I love it on my Maddox 2 lightweight. And that's because it just takes a wicked edge so easy. Super easy to sharpen. Both these, the Tenacious and this, you know, a fool can sharpen it on a stone in a river if you know what you're doing, or one of those cheap stones from Lowe's or Home Depot. But what I really like about this one is, as you heard in other videos, the Raven's got a choil. And I just like how you can choke up on a knife like this for much more detailed work. In fact, I think that there's somewhat of a little design flaw in the Tenacious of how easy it is for your finger to slip over and cut yourself. And I can't be the only one over there who's breaking down boxes with something like this and went to grab the knife and kind of grab part of the blade. Maybe it's not a design flaw, maybe it's just a user error, but I've done it several times. And I don't think that in a quick draw situation or just whipping out a knife, I'm not talking about self-defense. I just mean, bam, grab my pocket and break down a box. I don't know. I found myself coming around the edge on this one a little too much. And that's why a lot of the Byrd knives all have a choil on them, almost, and I love that here. And also the jimping is very different. So the thumb ramp on the Tenacious is steeper and shorter. You can see when you get up here is not a lot, and it's a little bit more aggressive. The Byrd, on the other hand, is a little bit more detail friendly and a longer ramp. You can see how the neck comes in here and you take it up on here. Again, personal preference, I just found that you can do a lot more with it for detail work, and it's better if you're trying to wrench onto something, if you're prying, if you're stabbing. Also, the second thing is in your downward prying motion here. So here again, pinky on the choil for downward strikes. If you're trying to whittle something, carve out a hole, do something like that, it felt safer in your hand. Going back to the Tenacious, it's just so easy for your hand to slip down. And the ramp, the finger ramp here is, I don't know if it's slippery, I'm not sure what you would call it, but if in a hard strike down, I just find that you can slip off on here. Again, maybe you don't use your knife that way. I do sometimes. I do a lot of camping, backpacking, but man, these are, and also these are like what I call a garage beater. I keep them handy. I'm always breaking down boxes, opening, pallets, keep these in the pocket in the yard work, cutting open bags of mulch and potting soil. I totally put these knives away wet and dirty, and they're great. Again, I don't use a Tenacious as much as I used to, but I do definitely use this Byrd. So when you're looking at the two, again, very, very similar knives here. Almost similar features. But for $10 more, you've got way better blade steel, a knife that performs better in your hand. Now, I know a lot of Spydercos, the handle is longer and it protrudes out past the end down here. So some guys like that. I think sometimes the knives look funny where the handle is bigger than the blade. So props to the Tenacious, because I think it does a better job in your hand of balance. But when you factor in the choil and how it feels in your hand, the Byrd definitely edges out the Tenacious for longer, harder work. So again, not knocking the Tenacious. I just think for $10, why wouldn't you want to spend a couple more dollars and get something better? The steel alone and the ergonomics alone make it worth the $10. And it's just a better usability in a knife. So that's my 2 cents on this one. So instead of buying a Spyderco Tenacious, I think you should need to buy a Spyderco Byrd Raven 2. And if you think I'm wrong or crazy, you can leave a comment below, and I'll put a link to Amazon on there, where if you want to purchase one of these. Again, let me just back up. Very similar with the lanyard hole on there. Thickness of them, they're pretty much the same too. The Byrd is a tad bit wider, but which makes it great for a hard use knife. And I think you'll be very happy with one of these. All right, guys, that's my little take on why you shouldn't buy a Tenacious. And heck, if you can afford it, you can definitely buy a Tenacious to check it out and then sell them on eBay, or they make a great knife to give to someone else. You buy a Tenacious for $50 and then you realize you're like, okay, I'm ready to move on and move up. And so they're still pretty cool in that one. And I think down the road here, I'll have to show you guys the Byrd Meadowlark versus the Delica and the Endure. They have so many similar knives, just great. Now, you were talking about a great knife for $20. Those Byrd Meadowlark and Harriers are unbelievable. All right, guys, appreciate it. I will talk to you later.